Most people think auto recyclers spend their days taking cars apart, and what they don't see is that our industry is helping shape environmental policy. We're influencing legislation and solving some of the biggest challenges facing the automotive world. My guest today, Wally Dingman, has spent nearly 4 decades as a recycler before stepping into leadership with the Automotive Recyclers of Canada. Our conversation goes far beyond Canada. We talk about leadership, advocacy, electric vehicles, industry perception, and why recyclers need to stop waiting for a seat at the table and start claiming one. This episode is sponsored by YardSmart, built for the reality of self-serve yards. With mobile features for vehicle photos, status changes, and yard audits, your team can keep inventory accurate and operations moving without running back to the desktop. YardSmart is a cloud-based system built by experienced yard owners and designed to give you unified control across the yard. The best part, YardSmart is known for being extremely responsive. If your suggestion makes sense, they'll build it. Want to see the workflow in action? Head over to yardsmartapp.com and book a demo, or email info@yardsmartapp.com. Mention this ad and they'll waive the setup fee and give you your first month free. Offer good for 1 year from this episode air date. Auto Recycler Intelligence. You're already spending money on Google Ads, your website, and marketing to make the phone ring. But what happens when those calls go unanswered? Too often, they go straight to your competitor. ARI Sales Assistant answers every call 24/7. It speaks auto recycling, it captures the lead, and hands your team qualified opportunities ready to close. Across the ARI network, the system has handled more than 277,000 calls, closed over 5,000 sales, and generated more than $2 million in transactions, including one recycler who turned just over a $1,000 investment into more than $18,000 in weekend sales. What are you missing while you're asleep? To learn more, contact Kirk Monger at kirk@ariintel.com.
Let's go.
So, Wally Dingman from Ontario
Yes,
Auto
sir.
Recyclers, and thank you so much. I appreciate you making time. We're here in Denver for the URG training conference, and you were kind enough to peel off for a little bit and have a conversation with me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate being invited. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah. How was your trip in?
That was good. Good. Uneventful, which is always nice when
It's
you're
the way
flying.
you like them, right?
Yep.
Very good. So I thought what I like to do when I'm interviewing recyclers is I like to get some of the origin story. And so, do you still operate a facility?
Nope. So I'm retired now, going on 5 years. So,
Do you retire like Steve Fletcher retires?
well, yeah, I'm a boomerang.
Yeah.
So so I was in the recycling business for 37, almost 38 years. Took a bit of a break from it, and then ended up in this role. So yeah.
And how did you get into auto recycling? Are you first generation?
Third generation.
No kidding.
Yep. So it was my great-grandfather actually. Skipped a generation. So yeah, I'm a third-generation recycler. So I joined my dad in my late teens. And at that point, the yard was still relatively small. So we grew the business as after I joined. We started doing some expansions, and we ended up growing from one location to 2 retail stores, plus our main location. So I guess that's just the energy of youth coming into a business, wanting to do more and do different.
So did you say you had 2 retail stores? Like,
I did,
Like
yeah.
storefronts?
Yes.
So there was no dismantling?
Nope.
You were dismantling and then
Supplying
those
Yep.
2 storefronts?
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah, did that for about 15 or so years. It was, it was very successful in the beginning. And of course, as things change and pivot and so forth, and aftermarket and all the forces that are out there, it became apparent that the overhead started to eat us alive. And so we had to scale back some of those operations. But,
Gotcha.
yeah.
And did you stock any just recycled parts, or did you?
We did a mix. It was probably 80% recycled, 20% new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pull that mic a little bit closer to your mouth. There you
There.
go. Okay. And so your great-grandfather started it. Where is it still operating today?
No. So today I sold the property. I had that come to Jesus moment with my kids, and none of my kids were interested in carrying on the tradition. So real estate market back just in the COVID time in our area at least, and probably in most areas, exploded.
Oh, yeah.
So I had some pretty, I had a unsolicited offer on the property, and I was intrigued.
Yeah.
So I decided, the unsolicited offer came back a couple of times, and the number wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I listed the property for 2 weeks quietly, had 12 offers, and went back to the original unsolicited offer and said, in full transparency, here's all the offers I've got. If you want the property, you've got to be higher than the last offer. So,
Right.
yeah, so we ended up closing a deal within 4 months.
That's awesome. Did it change?
Yeah, so I decommissioned the yard. So I wrapped up the auto recycling portion, sold off the equipment, and then I leased back the building because I wasn't quite ready to retire yet.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, on the side, I had an auto repair business going. So I decided to keep that. So I didn't want to actually move out of my office yet. I wasn't ready for that emotional trauma.
Yeah.
I'd been there a long, long time. So so we stayed in the auto repair business. Still have a small shop now.
Okay.
I don't really have much to do with it now that I've pivoted into my new role. So I'm finding myself very, very, very occupied.
Yeah, I think I know.
Yeah, you might.
So you're the executive director of, is it which group? So don't say it wrong.
Yeah, so I'm executive director. I was originally hired for the Automotive Recyclers of Canada, so I served on both boards. So I was treasurer of ARC, and I was a director of ARA for a few years. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up in the leadership position of being chairman of both associations for over a decade for both associations. So the Automotive Recyclers of Canada came to me just over a year ago, April. Mm-hmm. Steve had decided that he was retiring, or at least that was the word on the street.
Right.
So he was retiring from ARC. They hired me for that position. And Aura, they had hired somebody else for that position. And unfortunately, that hire
Didn't
work out. Went a little sideways on him.
Jeff, what was his name? Jeff?
No.
I don't know why I said Jeff.
Yeah, I don't know.
We've forgotten already.
We've already forgotten. he made such an impact on the industry.
Okay.
So, so Matt was his name.
That's right.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah.
So they tapped me on the shoulder and asked me if I wanted the role. And, it's very familiar territory.
Sure.
People that I've worked with for a number of years, stuff that I'm familiar with, just the other side of the table. So it's been a bit of a learning curve. Mm-hmm. As a chairman, you get to kind of push your board a little bit to make decisions and so forth. And I've been reminded on more than one occasion that as an executive director, you do not push on your board. Your board pushes you.
Yeah.
So it's been like, okay, yeah, right. Learn my role here, learn my role.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in my lane. Don't get fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a lot in common. And I've said this to you before. So we're both executive directors of associations and obviously, and we're very nearly the same age.
Yep. I'm ready to say goodbye to my 50s in a few weeks, and I'm hanging on to them with dear life for dear life.
I'll be doing that in October.
Yep.
So
yep.
That's a hard reality.
It is a hard reality. Look at that new number. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Where did the time go?
Where did it go? And then and you think it's weird, and it when you get to the point and you start realizing you've got more days behind you than you do in front of you. And it just, it changes the way you look at things.
It definitely does. You start putting different perspectives on things. You look at things a little bit differently. I've always been, what's the proper term? I've been called a lot of things. So I think intense is the most neutral, not so colorful.
There you go.
I'm intense. And that's how I am. I just like to get stuff done. If I start on something, I'm not going to piss around with it. I'm going to dig into it and get it figured out and get it done and move on to the next thing. So, and even more so now, you get into your late 50s and crossing into the 60s, and you realize that, your time is limited. So you start really emphasizing getting things done.
And the good news is that hopefully you as we get to this point, we've accumulated some measure of wisdom, which makes us more efficient at getting things done, right? Because we've made enough mistakes, and hopefully
Yep.
aren't making the same mistakes.
Yep.
I always encourage people to make mistakes. Like,
Sure.
if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough.
Exactly.
Just don't make the same mistakes.
Right.
But at our age, makes us pretty effective.
Yep.
If we're
Yep.
leveraging all the experience and wisdom.
Yep. And I'm fortunate, having 38 years in the recycling business. I look at something and I go, yeah, no, that won't fly.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, do you need to take it back to your board? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I can edit this right here. This is a non-starter. An auto recycler would never buy into this. This is a waste of time.
Yeah. Like, do you have an example?
Not particularly, but there's been things
I get it.
Things just come across your desk and you look at it and you go, yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, that's a non-starter. And you just know the temperament of the board and you know the temperament of an auto recycler. And I always look at it, and this is where I always have to continually shift gears because I look at things firstly through the eyes of an auto recycler. And I look at it and go, yeah, is that a good business move? No, it's not. But then I got to go, whoa. This is an association I'm doing now. This is a little bit different. This isn't for profit. Is this a good idea? You have to kind of expand your horizon a little bit and, widen your thinking a little bit and go, okay, let me take that to the board. I'm thinking it's a no, but let me take it to the board and see what they say. So
yeah. So has that been, or what has been the biggest adjustment going from an operator to an executive director? Is that it?
It's my thinking, yeah. Because my thinking is, I'm always dialed in as a recycler. I'm like, is this profit or loss? Is this moving the needle? Is this moving the business forward? Or is this just adding another layer of bureaucracy or another cost?
Sure.
Nobody wants to add a cost or a bureaucracy or anything like that. So, for me, it's the biggest shift for me is, twofold. Number one, I'm now working for somebody. Never done that before in my entire life. I've always worked.
Never had another job.
Never. No, wow. I'm a what do they call me? A one-trick pony. I'm a recycler and only a recycler. Never done anything else. So yeah, that's the one new thing, and that whole I'm
a lot of trick pony.
Well, good for you.
I don't know if it is.
It gives you different perspective.
It does.
My perspective is really, in some ways, it's very one-dimensional in that I only know the recycling business. I do not know anything else. I know many sides of the recycling business. In my business, we did a lot of retail, we did wholesale, we did scrap. So I've
Right.
I kind of know the textures of the business. I know multifaceted parts of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's been different only because, now I report to somebody and I always got to figure out, I know in the beginning, especially with the ARA board, they're a very engaged board. They're very active. And I know in the beginning, they actually came to me and said, okay, you know what? Enough emails.
Oh, you were over-informing.
I was over-informing. I was keeping them in the loop. I was just making sure that, not knowing how long my leash was
I'd rather
here.
be told that.
Yeah, so would I.
Like, what's going on?
Right, exactly. Are you doing anything?
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah.
I did that too.
Yeah.
I did that too. And I kind of self-moderated and started to back off. But, I get it.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, right? And they've given me a lot of ropes. And, we've got a lot of projects on the go, maybe more than we should have on the go right now. It's just, I kind of likened it to I lit a lot of dumpster fires and they all caught. So now it's like
now it's your job to put them out.
Now I got to put them out. Now I got to deal with all these things. I'm like, okay, but it's been good. It's been really good. And Steve, Steve Fletcher's still there, still helping, still, I don't think he'll ever retire, to be honest with you. So if we get to this point in the podcast, he got a party.
He got a party.
That's all he wanted. I think that's all he really wanted.
That's funny.
He got his party and he's still there.
He comes back. Guess what?
I'm back.
So, why? Let me ask you this: You're currently the executive director of 2 associations.
Yep.
Why have more than one association?
Well, okay, so
is it similar to the way we have our state associations?
It is. So, Canada being, very big country, very big country, and, localized populations, we do have, the same as you have here, we have different laws to some degree. Some legislation is a little bit different. So ARC came along much after the provincial association. So the ARC, I think, came around in 1993. And it was basically what ARC is different than ARA in that ARC is an association of associations. So our only members of ARC are the 7 provincial associations. AURA, ARAC,
Yeah.
ARDA,
Okay.
Sarah. Yeah. So that's the difference. And the reason for that was basically it was a way to create a clearinghouse of information, to understand what's going on across the country and try to help create some harmonization, because
It connected all the
connect the dots.
Yeah.
So that's what really ARC is doing. Now, ARC had some very big wins in that, because of some of the lobbying and some of the work that Steve was doing. We took on a project back in early 2000, 2003, 2004, which, similar to your Cash for Clunkers, was our Retire Your Ride program.
Gotcha.
And it was, it was a federal government program, Environment Canada, run in cooperation with the Summerhill Group. And we, generated a lot of money. And that was shared with the provinces. And we got a lot of vehicles off the road, did it responsibly, so we proved ourselves. And ARC, although it's a, small association, definitely hitting way above our weight. So,
Yeah.
And
Was that a good program for you? Like, if you had the option to do that program again, would you?
I was asked that the other day, and although I know what the wins were, I also know what the losses were.
The losses were probably the same as ours. We
Yeah.
took a lot of source material
Right.
out of the
Yeah.
market.
Right. So, and that was, looking at it, in retrospect, good program, did what the government wanted to do, gave ARC a lot of, I don't want to say credibility. Not right. So yeah, it was good for that. But at the end of the day, like, if another, we're playing in the EV market now, and there's been some whispers of saying, well, maybe what we should do is take gas vehicles off the road and subsidize the EVs. And I'm like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, because that's our feedstock. Like, take the parts buyer vehicle off the road. Yeah, it's a big inventory disruptor.
Yeah.
and
it's taken a long time to recover.
Yep. Yeah, it has.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That makes a lot of sense why ARC was the kind of networking all of the other associations together.
Yep.
And then you guys have you just finished AURA.
Yep.
In Toronto.
Yep.
Maybe a month or so ago.
Yeah, end of March. Yep.
And then you've got the Western show. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so this is something that, coming out of, I was at the Alberta conference last year, and Alberta, probably the larger of the Western provinces when it comes to recyclers and attendance and stuff like that, has been struggling the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Associations, I know, coming to your show at ARA back in October, I heard all about your state association struggling with numbers and volunteers, and that's common across the industry. So we kind of chatted amongst ourselves at ARC and said, how can we help Alberta? How can we, they've lost some membership. Their membership has been decimated, probably 50% of what it was 5 years ago. So we discussed what some options were, and it came to light that maybe what we should try is a super show. So bringing the 4 Western provinces together, we're going to let Alberta's going to be the host province. So we're going to do the show end of September 25, 26, 25, 26, 27 in Calgary. So it's
going to end of October?
September.
September. That's right.
End of September.
25, 26. Okay.
Yep. So we're going to be BC, Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. It is a bit of a trial run, a bit of a litmus test to see exactly what's going to happen here. But there's been a lot of interest. So
yeah, well, we plan to support it.
Yeah, and that's great. Like what we're trying to do is just give the BC recyclers, like we have had, ARC members typically, or ARC board members typically often come to the AURA show. And AURA has become a great event. But the reality is travel costs and some, legislative differences and so forth, I think it's time. And so this is going to be a test. We're hoping, our hope is that if we can get this Western show off the ground, get some good content, it's all about the content.
Yeah.
If we can get some good content, we're hoping to make it a yearly event. And she'll have AURA in the east and a Western show in the west. That's the goal.
That's awesome. Great goal. And so I'm gonna just wander into my ignorance here because anyway, do you in Canada do you do advocacy the way we what's that look like for you guys?
So we're I don't want to say we're responding to stuff, but we are. Now, we have a great relationship with the OEMs. So
Okay.
CVMA and GAC, we have a great relationship with them. So we're working with them on, various things pop up. And the problem that we're having, and this is, again, why ARC is very central in making sure that some of these things are addressed. Saskatchewan recently had, basically it was EPR for EV batteries came up. They didn't really understand what was happening. They're all recyclers on the board. They're all, the Ministry of the Environment's kind of interested in what we do, and they're doing some yard tours, and they're thinking, oh, isn't this great? And then we kind of hear from the OEs saying, are you aware of EPR for EV batteries? And I'm like, no. And so, they sent us the legislation, proposed legislation, and we're like, oh, yeah, no, that can't happen.
Yeah.
So, went back to the SARA board and said, are you guys aware what's here? And they're like, no, not really. And, we kind of sorted it out and discovered what was actually happening there. And then we supported them in making a submission, getting a submission ready for them. So ARC made a submission, SARA made a submission, and thankfully the EPR for batteries was removed from the table once they understood
the
impact, and that there's already a program in place.
Yeah.
We've already got a national EV program. So, to start throwing batteries in different jurisdictions under EPR when there's something else already happening nationally doesn't make any sense. And again, Saskatchewan, every province writing their own rules, looking at their own legislation.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the job of ARC, is to try to make sure that we're all on the same page.
It's amazing how often you get legislators drafting language and they're not including, and of course it's incumbent on us as trade associations to get involved, and we try very hard to be involved, and I'm sure you do too.
Yep.
But it's always interesting that they start drafting language and don't have all the stakeholders involved.
Well, and that's my, and I've been writing some articles and some position papers on a number of issues, and that's my biggest concern and my biggest beef is that, auto manufacturers, and I've thrown a little bit of shame on them too, because they're designing a product and they're creating rules and regulations and processes, and they're not consulting the people that end up handling these things.
Yeah.
So, if you want to, I'm all for you making design changes. I'm all for anything that's progressive, but we need to be sitting at the table so that you understand what we do and how we do
How
it.
you're impacting things downstream.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't just dump the garbage on us at the end of the day and hope that we're going to clean it up. We're not going to clean up your mess.
And some of them will look at you and go, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Somehow they think that, and I'm always surprised at how many people think, oh, doesn't the government give you some money or something? I'm like, yeah, I wish. No.
Not handing out checks.
Yeah. So on the advocacy side, we're always relying on the provinces to kind of raise the flag when there's something comes up, and we're always scanning. And now with the new invention of AI, and it helps me cheat a little bit.
Nobody's cheating anymore. They're all just admitting that AI is doing a lot of work.
I'm using it. I'm telling you, I've got so many things running every day, just looking for legislative changes, anything that touches on auto recycling. Yeah, creates a lot of reading, but how else can you stay on top of all the things that are happening in different jurisdictions? So
yeah, no. Are there any differences that you're aware of on how Canadian recyclers get vehicles? Like here in the U.S., we go to the auction, we buy it from the street. It's some form of one of those two options. But I know, like in the U.K., they have these contracts. They get cars directly, from the insurers and things like that. What's it like in Canada?
We are if you asked me that question 20 years ago, I'd say recyclers gather most of their vehicles by contract, because contract was really big. Now, the auctions have picked up probably 95% of that.
Thank you.
So, yeah, it's not much different. Our vehicle acquisition's the same. It's off the street at the auction. ARC does run a vehicle program. So when we ran
a donation program, right?
Well, we have both.
No,
we have Retire Your Ride. So coming out of running that government program from the federal government.
Did you leverage a bunch of some infrastructure that you had put in place? That makes sense.
Yeah, we leveraged everything. And actually we inherited the code of practice that the government instituted, which is now our CARIC. So it's our Canadian Automotive Recyclers Environmental Code. So similar to your your car program. So that was one of the wins that we took away from running that program for them, and we've modified it a little bit, updated it a few times. Steve and I are actually updating it right now to kind of start to address the EV.
Let's be honest, AI is updating. I'm just kidding.
No, I wish. You should have seen what the mess I got. I threw it into AI and I said, just do this for me. And I got it back. I'm like, oh my God, I can't use that. You ruined it.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yeah. But so we're running those programs. So yeah, we have Retire Your Ride and Car Heaven. So we have both those programs.
Are they both donation programs?
No. So the Retire Your Ride is your cash offer.
Gotcha.
And Retire Your Ride is your cash offer.
Right.
Car Heaven is your donation.
Okay.
So we're working with 14 or 15 charities right now.
So the cash offer, how does that work? ARC's not buying vehicles, right? They're just aggregating that information out to the members, and they get to bid on it?
Yep. So we had software that was legacy software from back in the day. And so we just actually implemented a rewrite of that software back in October, got the bugs out of it. I think we got all the bugs out of it. So we're back advertising as of last week. We started advertising again. So yeah, it's kind of neat. It's a nice clean system now. So when you log in as a recycler, if you're a member of the program, if you're signed up for the software, then you log into your software and you get all these little tiles, just like the auctions. You got pictures of cars, which recyclers love. All recyclers love pictures of cars. And so you get to bid on them. And people are uploading their stuff, and recyclers are bidding.
And these are consumers.
These are consumers. This is consumer direct. Yeah.
Neat.
And I hope to expand that beyond consumers at some point. That's kind of the idea for rewriting the software.
Like fleets.
And maybe even insurance, small insurance. Yeah,
nice.
That's kind of the goal. But so it's working. It's a good program. The updates, we had a few hiccups getting through some of the updates, but we're there. So so there's the cash offer. So people, it's about a week type of a process. People upload a vehicle. It sits up there for 2 days. Recyclers bid, highest bid that the system automatically now sends that offer out to the customer. ARC sends that offer out to the customer, and the customer either accepts or declines. If they accept, the system automatically turns around, pumps that out to the recycler, says, here's your pickup request, your offer's been accepted. You got.
Is there a reason why you don't have an instant quote component so that the consumer doesn't have to wait?
We looked at it, and statistically, if we're using scrap values and trying to put current scrap conditions in, we're finding that our returns to the customer are probably 30% higher across the board. So, trying to just do a scrap number, I don't think the uptake is there. At least not, because let's face it.
You give them the option. You say, here's your instant offer, or we can put it up for bid.
Yeah, we've considered it. It seems that the bid model works.
Yeah.
Most people, in the general public, there's something about it that, to me, the bid process anymore, when I was year one in the business, it was kind of sexy, but it's not sexy anymore. You just know auction's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
But to the retail public, there's something about it that they're like, oh, my car's going to be bid on.
Yeah. Well, they're getting the same excited feeling that you got when you first started doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's working.
Yeah.
So if it's working,
great.
Let's not mess with it.
No. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we like to break things.
I know.
I was actually interviewing Chris Douglas when I was in ARA, actually, and one of the comments that he made was about his business is that he needed to break it in order to rebuild it, and he says, if I didn't break it, somebody else was gonna.
Yep.
And I thought that was pretty interesting, pretty good quote.
Yep, that is a good quote.
So,
yeah.
We were chatting a few minutes ago about just kind of this life journey into our I don't know what you want to call it. the next phase.
The last phase.
Yeah, I guess so. And that you start taking inventory of all kinds of aspects of your life, and so I think it was the year before, not this ARA, but the one that was in Niagara, right? Was the first time you and I met face to face.
Yep, it was. Yep.
And we sat down at a table just like this, and I introduced myself, and we started chatting. And I was shocked within 10 minutes. I'm like, we've got a lot in common. Like, we're the same age. we both do the same job.
Yep.
And then we find out that outside of this, we both embarked on kind of a fitness journey at the same time and chose the same thing. Like in our mid-late 50s, we both decided a combat sport was a good idea.
Yeah, stupid, eh? What could go wrong?
So, and the only reason we got there so quickly is because when you turned to introduce myself, you had a black eye.
Yes, I did.
And I did not know what to make of that.
Well, I have an active board.
Me being me, I just asked.
Right.
And the next thing you know, I find out that you're a boxer. And I've done some kickboxing, and I do jiu-jitsu, and you've done jiu-jitsu.
Little jiu-jitsu,
And so, I don't know. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's, again, we're going to go back to my label. My label is I'm
intense.
Intense. That's it. That's the word I like. I like intense. Yeah. Some of the other ones I'm not so fond of, but I do find that it seems counterintuitive, and people are like, oh my goodness, combat sports. It's just so violent. It's so, so nasty, right? And I'm just like, the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Oh my gosh.
The kindest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's a great outlet. Like I need it. Because you get a day and it's just like, oh my word! Like,
did you ever do this before, and did you come back to it, or was this your first?
This is my first stint.
Yeah.
And I truly do wish I would have found it a little earlier in life.
Gosh, me too.
Because it's a great outlet. You can go in there, spend an hour, leave all that frustration on the floor, and go back to work. And I'm super, super fortunate because the building that I'm in, that I lease back, my old retail space, is where the gym is now.
Oh, wow.
So it's literally, I posted the other day, like I don't have an excuse for not going because it's literally from my door to the gym door. It's 10 feet, 6 inches.
Oh, my gosh.
So it's just like across the hall.
Yeah.
So I have no excuse.
No. Yeah. That's great. So you've been doing it now for what, about 3 years?
Yep. Coming 2.5. Yeah, about 2.5 years. I started, the funny thing is I started almost by accident because I tore my rotator cuff. And I put it off for about a year and finally decided I should deal with it. So I went and did the surgery and was doing rehab and stuff like that. And in the meantime, my neighbor is retired professional MMA. Mm-hmm. And he was saying, he's had some shoulder injuries before. And he said, once the rehab was just becoming a gym exercise, a very expensive gym exercise.
Sure.
So I said, well, can you help me with my shoulder? And he said, oh, yeah, sure. Let's, So he started with some strength exercise and so forth. And, we did that for about 6 months. And finally he says to me, he says, you're a very intense guy.
This is a theme.
Yeah, this is a theme in my life. I said, well,
Were you an intense little boy?
Oh, yes. Everything got hit with a stick.
That's great.
Or hit, poked, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I do have an affinity for fire, but that's another conversation. But yeah, so he said, we should try a little bit of boxing. At the end of our workout session, let's try, just 10 minutes of boxing. I'm like, yeah, I don't think
great
so.
Great cardio.
And he's like, no, he says, because I hated the bike. Like, he's trying to put me on the bike. And I'm like, yeah.
He's trying to find a cardio solution.
I'm going to dismantle that thing. That thing is evil. That thing is evil, right? So he said, let's do some boxing. So we did some boxing. I'm like, I can do this. This is feeling really good. I'm really liking this. So yeah, so it ended up, just by the course of nature, we just ended up into a boxing class. So it's really good.
Have you ever, or would you ever consider competing?
Oh yeah, I got to do it once. It's on my bucket list. Yeah, I got just a white collar event. Nothing. Yeah, I'm not gonna go up against a 19-year-old.
And you're more boxing than jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
you have taken jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, we do. It's the class I'm doing is it's a mixed MMA class. So a lot of boxing. We do usually do one jits class a week. Usually.
It's a great skill to have.
It's great. I've got some limitations. I've got some hardware in one hip, so, I'm not so flexible on one side. But you know what? As well as I do with jiu-jitsu, there's 1,000 ways around everything, right?
So I walked into it. I'd never been an athlete. I'd never played a sport. I'd never done anything. And I had been wanting to train jiu-jitsu for a long time. And I finally walked into the one place where I go, the Lab MMA Fredericksburg, shout out. Anyway, I walked in there, and they had they have a jiu-jitsu side, they have an MMA side, which is kind of typical formula. Yep. And I was so intimidated by the jiu-jitsu side that I started taking a cardio kickboxing.
Yep.
And I was 5 minutes into my first session, and for the first time ever in a gym environment, I had sweat just pouring off me, and I was smiling and I was having a good time, and I just fell in love with that.
Yep.
I did that cardio class for a year, and I kept saying, man, I want to go over there and try jiu-jitsu. All these guys, man, they're just such badasses. And and finally, they actually killed that cardio class because there wasn't enough participation. So I was kind of thrust. I'm like, all right, I'm going over here.
Yep.
And I started training jiu-jitsu, and man, I don't know. And people don't get it, you know. But you could probably pull up. There's dozens and dozens of hobbies and different things that people do, you know, bodybuilding or whatever. And the ones who get it, and the ones who don't. But you know, how was jiu-jitsu tonight, honey? Well, it was great. You know, I'm just trying to figure out how to stay alive. Well, so this is the other guy's trying to figure out how to choke me out.
Right.
Know?
Yeah.
So you like that? I go, strangely, it's such a mental game.
It
right?
is.
Where,
it is.
You know, you're thinking. Your brain is in fight or flight, is in fight mode, right? Because you're thinking, I need oxygen, right?
Yeah.
But you can't panic. You have to think it through.
Yep. No, it's interesting, and both the jiu-jitsu and boxing, both, you know, mental clarity for me is one of the things that are standout. Like I'm just like, when I first started, I'm glad there's no video footage of it to show because, you know, I'm sure, I know, you know, you're flailing and you're thinking you're just this stud, right? You're just like
the reality versus the.
It's just like, this is, you know, you've seen them on Instagram, you know, this is what I think I look like and this is what I actually look like. And you're like, ooh, that's not pretty.
No.
But you learn to settle into it and you learn, you know, again, place I'm going, small gym, really small gym, great group of guys. Yeah, you know, when we go at it, we'll go at it hard. And I have a couple of guys that I can go with, and they'll give it. But the reality is that it's what you need. It's not more than you can handle.
Yeah.
You know, you've trained together, you know each other, and it's just like, yep. You know, my wife's like, so you punched the shit out of each other, and then you went for a beer afterwards. Yeah. It was a good day.
It was a great day. You know? I remember when I was taking the kickboxing class, and we would work a lot. It was kind of like CrossFit a little bit, you know, a lot of calisthenics, burpees, things like that, and then a lot of heavy bag work. And I learned the techniques. I learned the basic four. You know, I learned kicks, and you know, and so I got, you know, for my age, I think I'm fairly good at it. You know, and I just remember how much. Like, I didn't realize I was carrying stress. I really didn't.
Yeah.
You could have asked me at any day in the last 20 years, are you feeling, you know, there's levels, there's what I call healthy stress that keeps me going and keeps me on my toes. And I've rarely been beyond that, you know. I think my full transparency, last fall leading up to the first conference that I was sitting, you know, overseeing, that was a little stressful. But you know, it was good to get that behind me and go, okay, I can do this. But I didn't realize I was carrying stress. But you spend 20 minutes on a heavy bag, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I feel good.
You just
get it out.
Exactly right. And it's great. Like I've always been, you know, stress has always been my driver. Like I always take on a little bit more than I can handle. I always, you know, take a little extra load because I know that stress drives me. And, you know, at some point, I guess at some age, I don't know what that age is yet, but it's probably not the thing to use for fuel, but it works for me.
I think there's a healthy, look, there's a resistance is a component that drives change. And it doesn't matter if you're lifting a weight and feeling that resistance. If you're learning how to navigate confrontation, that resistance, right? There's a element of resistance that's good for you.
And you got to push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you don't push yourself out of your comfort zone, you can't grow, you can't learn, you can't, you know. So that's what it's about. So, but you know, and I suppose when it comes to our stress levels, and if we talk to our spouses, they may have an opinion on our stress level that we don't quite see, because I know my wife does. But
that's a good thing about having a wife, and they see your blind spots.
Yep.
And then you just trust them.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. You're like, because occasionally my wife will text me in the morning. So because lately I've been doing a morning class, and lately with so much on the go, I have to skip a class occasionally because I just have too much.
Sure.
I got calls and stuff. So occasionally I'll get this text message from my wife. She's like, "Are you doing a boxing class this morning?" And I'm like, "Well, she says, you probably should." I'm like,
Loud and clear.
"Yeah, gotcha."
Yeah. And I found it was really funny because I probably spent a year and a half doing that cardio kickboxing class, but it was just me and a heavy bag.
Yep.
And so go over and I start doing jiu-jitsu, and I'm watching the other side. I'm watching the MMA training that they're doing, and I'm thinking, man, I miss the striking, I miss the kicking.
Yep.
So then I decided to go over and start taking a Thursday evening Muay Thai class.
Nice.
Yeah. What a difference
Yep.
between hitting a bag
Yep.
and sparring with somebody who's trying to take your head off.
Yes.
And it's not too different than the experience in jiu-jitsu. Excuse me. It's not too different than the experience in jiu-jitsu where coach will walk you through a training
Yep.
exercise.
Yep.
And then you and me will go and we'll
Practice
We'll
it.
practice, right?
Yep.
And one's
Yep.
doing it, the other one's just there.
Yep.
And then we switch and we do that.
Yep.
And then we do a live roll.
Yep.
And everything's gone.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, you forget
survival.
everything.
I
It's
can't
just,
remember
oh my God,
anything.
he's trying to choke me again.
Yeah,
Stop that.
My arm doesn't go that way. And
Exactly.
then it was just like that with, like, I'm thinking, all right, I spent a year and a half. I know how to strike. I know how to bob and weave. I know, right? As soon as somebody tries
Yep.
to come at you and
Yep.
you're just doing stuff like literally, I'm doing stuff. I'm like, why would you do that? That's
Yep.
you don't swat people away.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard a great explanation or a summary of jiu-jitsu, and it's like the art of folding clothes while somebody is still wearing
Well,
them.
people, yep, they're
I
still
love
wearing
it.
Yeah, that's very good.
It's true.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm in a rut. My travel schedule I have not been in to train. It's easily been 4 weeks.
Yep.
And man, the self-loathing
Yep.
is.
Yep.
I've never had a gym experience in my life, so I didn't realize the mental health component of it.
Huge.
I didn't. And then I didn't even realize it while I was doing it. I knew I was enjoying it. I knew I was enjoying the physical part of it. I was blown away how much I enjoyed the community. Like
Yeah.
the community is amazing.
Yeah.
And then when you do the things we do and you travel and all of a sudden you're away from it for a bit, I did not expect the mental health component of it to creep
Yep.
in on me. And
Yep.
it's just sucks.
I know it does, and I'm the same. The funny thing is because we are in such close quarters, my coach every now and again will take a peek in my office and go, "How about we do a 15-minute
Oh
sparring
my
session?"
gosh, I wish I had that.
And I'm just like, "Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't really need it today." He says,
Yeah, you kind of do.
"Yeah, you kind of do. Come on
Yeah.
over."
Yeah.
And we'll do it. Just a raw 15 of 3-minute
Yeah.
and go right. And
What
just
I would give for that.
and it's just like, yeah, when you're done, you're absolutely soaking wet, and yeah, you've may have a mark or two on you.
But really clear.
Oh, crystal. And it's just like, wow, yeah, I needed that. Like it's just, and yeah, it's just for me. It's kind of I always likened it, keeps me in the center.
Yeah.
Just when you're keeps you in the center, not just mentally.
I really wanted to compete in jiu-jitsu. It was one of my bucket. I'm saying it in past tense because I'm not sure. So I was a white belt. I'm a blue belt now.
Oh wow. Good.
And when I was a white belt, I was thinking, all right, I was doing the math on all this. I'm like, I'm 4-stripe white belt, and they pair you by just the color of the belt, notwithstanding stripes.
Right.
And so, and then they do somewhat by age. Apparently, once over 35, they call it masters. Doesn't have anything to do with skill level, but in jiu-jitsu, you're just a master because you're old. Over 35, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, worst case scenario, I'm going to go in as 4-stripe white belt and compete with at least a 35-year-old, but maybe somebody older, right? So I was really excited. I was starting to and then they promoted me.
And you started looking around the room at all
I'm
the
like,
blue belts.
I'm not going to compete as a blue belt. I'm
Nope.
certainly not going to compete as a no stripe blue belt,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
And I was sharing this with one of the coaches. He's like, "Man, you should have told us."
Yep. Yep. Right.
So I don't know if I've just watched my my dream of competing evaporate, but we'll see.
Do they consider weight class? They consider
They
weight
do.
class. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Like I would probably give it a whirl as well. I'm still, I'm not doing as much jiu-jitsu right now as I would like to be doing.
Running an auto recycling business isn't getting any easier, and that's exactly why the Automotive Recyclers Association exists. When you join ARA, you're not just paying dues, you're getting backup, training for your team, help with safety and environmental compliance, discounts that lower your operating cost, and a national voice defending recyclers on legislation that matters. You also join a network of professional recyclers who believe in doing things right and building businesses that last. If you want to protect your operation and grow with confidence, ARA membership matters. Learn more and join at a-r-a.org.
I would probably give it a whirl as well. I'm still, I'm not doing as much jiu-jitsu right now as I would like to be doing. Mm-hmm. It's hard to fit everything in.
Yeah.
If I have to choose, I'll choose boxing because it's, it's the release that I need. It's the it's the energy burn that I need. Not to say that jiu-jitsu isn't, because a guy that I train with, he did compete a couple months ago, and so I was considered. I was training with him, preparing him.
Yeah.
Basically, I was just his training dummy. I was just
a
lot of weight to try to while he was practicing some of his maneuvers, I was just there to be as
provide some resistance.
Provide the resistance. Yeah. But the funny thing is that when we were done, I'm like, dude, I'm cooked. Yeah. Like every muscle in my body is aching right now, just trying to keep you in place. Like it's just like, I may not have the technique, but I sure got the burn.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important. This is what we've figured out for us, but man, I think it's super important that everybody kind of figure out what their deal is, and because you see as we get older, it just becomes so much more important to pay attention to what you eat.
Yep.
And are you moving your body enough? And the rate at which you begin to deteriorate is significantly higher, and there's only one thing that slows it down, right? And that is diet and exercise.
Yep.
And I have a hard time. You look great. You look like you've trimmed down a lot. I wish I have. I need to really focus on that.
And the funny thing is that when I went into my shoulder surgery, jokingly, my physician said to me, he said, he said, you're going to need to lose about 10 pounds before your surgery, and I'm like, okay. I'm not really that big. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, he says, most guys, he says, telling you right now, will gain 10 pounds in that 6-week rehab because you're parked on a couch, and let's face it, you ain't eating celery. So, right? He says, you're going to gain some weight. So lose it now to gain it later. Lose the weight
you're going to gain.
Lose the weight you're going to gain.
Yeah.
And so that kind of started me on a bit of a journey. And then after I sold the yard, the reality is that I didn't realize, when I sold the yard, it was 195-ish. Mm-hmm. And within a year of selling the yard, it was 223, 224. And it was like, that kind of snuck up on me. I didn't really realize, just your daily activity.
Yeah.
Your daily, not necessarily working out. I was just my daily activity, being involved in the business.
Moving a lot when you were at the yard.
Yep, moving a lot. And so that kind of ended up stuck behind a desk and just started to put some weight on. So, I think in the end, over the course of a year and a half, I think I dropped about 50, just over 50 pounds.
That's
so,
great.
Feel great.
That's really good. Good. Well, I'm sure people. This is one of the parts of the conversation that I was most looking forward to, and I'm sure everybody else is bored listening to
probably.
us, but I don't care.
Neither do I.
Guess whose podcast it is?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, that was good. I really enjoyed talking about that, and I know we've joked about sparring in the past. But, the whole U.S. Canada thing.
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
kinda
yeah,
fun.
yeah. I know we're talking about doing a hockey game, but I think we should do a hockey game and a boxing match, or do boxing on skates, like because I can
Well,
skate.
isn't that what they do? Isn't that the old joke? Like,
Yeah.
I went to a boxing match and a hockey
Hockey
game
you
broke
out.
out.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So let's do that.
Yeah.
Hey, Marty, can you box?
I would guess he can.
I bet. Well, we'll find out.
I mean, have you ever met a goalie who couldn't?
no.
Yeah, it's part of the deal. It's
part of the deal.
Do you skate? Do you
I do,
play?
yeah.
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 You have to. They just ask you to go.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Sorry, you have to go to the U.S. You can't be. So I know it's a pretty big pastime up there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I unfortunately as a kid I didn't really spend street hockey and stuff like that, but ice hockey just logistically speaking didn't work out for me because rural, it was always a big
Did
commitment.
you grow up in a rural environment?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, the yard. Actually, my dad built a house just adjacent to the yard, so yeah, very rural.
Okay. So you did play some hockey.
Just very very street stuff. Nothing.
Yeah.
No, didn't make the ice thing work
I
just
gotcha.
because of logistics and so forth.
Yeah. So what's going on? Is there anything exciting happening in Canada in the auto recycling industry?
Well, there's a lot of things going on. Like you guys got the same thing going on. The EV battery on
Yeah.
again,
Yep.
off again. EV mandates on again, off again.
I mean, I haven't found anybody that disagrees with this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Don't you feel like we spend an extraordinary amount of energy focused on EV? And it's important that we do because it'll be a train wreck if we don't. But we spend so much energy focused on EVs and EV batteries and end-of-life processing and all that when it makes up such a small sliver of what we do.
It is, and that's something that my Ontario board is very aware of, and we're really we're trying to be very careful to measure the amount of effort put
Yeah.
into something that is really occupying such a small amount of space. So yeah, we have
If
to.
you turn around, next thing you know, they're gonna draft language today, and then I really believe that the EV market will grow.
It will.
And personally, I'd like to see it grow organically.
So would I.
The demand and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. We don't need to legislate it, in
No.
my opinion. But so I do think it's going to grow. I think whatever segment of automobiles EVs makes up today, 10 years it's probably going to be double.
Yep.
I don't know, but
Yep.
and so that's why, right? We have to pay attention today.
Yep.
So that in
But
a
it
few years from now, we're not dealing with the mess of us not paying attention.
Right. So it has to be there, and it has to be on the agenda, but it can't be a preoccupation. Like I follow it, I keep on top of it. At the end of the day, I feel my responsibility is to make sure that the recyclers have got an avenue to dispose of stuff that they normally can't get rid of, right?
Right.
Especially with EVs being so new, with there being so many unknowns, and then you start having the risk of fires. Like there's a lot of things that we got to get figured out. I know in Canada we're struggling with training. I know that I've tried some online training, and I know you guys do a great job with your online training. But I also know recyclers, and being one, I know that the hands-on is very important.
Yeah.
So we've had some successful events in Ontario specifically, but I'm really at this point looking to try to find some funding because the EV training is something that I think is, if you're going to handle them, you have to have the training. You have to understand what it is that you're dealing with. And I'm not even 100% certain myself that anybody understands them 100%, because the way it was designed and the way it was built versus what it is after an accident, I think there's still a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to figure out what those unknowns are. So
Yeah. I know Greg
Yep,
Aguilera
Aguilera,
is
yep,
up there in
yep,
Toronto, and
yep.
he does a very good job, very
He does.
comprehensive training.
Yep.
And,
yeah. So
and today's his birthday, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Well, this'll
air later,
like
so
6 weeks from now.
Yep,
But
so-
still,
So yeah, we've done a couple of sessions with him. He's done some member only training as well at specific yards. So yeah, it's a great thing to have. It's expensive, and it's again, when you bring in 1,000 cars and 10 of them are EVs, how do you earmark such a large portion of a budget for training when it is such a small part of it? But
probably. Well, go ahead.
the flip side is that this is the one and only nuance or change in architecture for the automobile since we moved into the automobile that'll kill you.
That's it.
So-
those 10 out of 100, they'll kill you.
They'll kill you. So, at the end of the
Or
day, or they'll
catch on fire.
Or catch on fire. So, they're either gonna destroy your property or kill you. So like this is the boogeyman that we're dealing with here. So we need to figure out how to deal with them. And so that's the challenge. The challenge is to find some funding for some, and I've gone to the manufacturers, and of course they point every direction, say they have money, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that they created this, so help us out a little bit.
They should be part of the solution.
They should be part of the solution.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Are there other aspects of other than EV batteries and end of life processes for that? Like, do you guys do the OEs mandate certain? Like we have right to repair. We've got OE repair procedures which really extend beyond procedures and try to mandate parts usage, which we're always pushing back on. Do you have the same thing up there?
To some degree, I don't think as to the same degree you do, but yeah, again, we have a good relationship with the OEs. And I'll leave it at that because we have to agree to disagree on a number of things,
Sure.
and that's fine, right? But at the end of the day, we're trying to hold their feet to the fire on certain things because again, we're dealing with a waste that they created, and we need to even understand it. The electric vehicle, for example, we need to understand it, and we need more data. And I know the auto manufacturers aren't in love with the idea that we're flooding the market with good quality recycled OE parts that are in direct competition with what they do. But when you look at what's happening in Europe, apparently we're not all wrong because even the manufacturers are now getting into the recycled parts market. So sustainability and all the buzzwords we're using today, circular economy and all those things that we're using.
They use them too, right up to the point where you start to introduce the value of reusing a part they've already made versus buying another one that they want to sell. And then you don't really get to hear, they stop talking about circular economy.
Exactly.
Sustainability.
And like I rain on their parade as often as I can when they're posting these articles about, how, manufacturers
Are you one of these social media pot stirrers?
Yeah, I am. I don't know if I can say it on the podcast, but my wife says to me, like on Facebook, they have the label conversation starter.
Yeah.
It's just because shit disturber isn't on there.
Well, it should be, right?
It should be.
Yeah.
But no, like the reality is, like they're so proud, and I get it. They're doing something new, but the reality is we've been doing that for 75 years, 100 years.
100 years.
We've been doing this for a long time. So, all those little bugs and micro things that we figured out along the way. And, that's why ARA, URG, ARA, ARC, these are all great organizations because we come together and we learn from each other.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about. Like no one yard, no one person knows everything.
No.
Like as a recycler and on the ARC, when I was serving as chair of both ARA and ARC, I got to do a little travel, and I always got to, my favorite thing, like most recyclers, is do a yard tour.
Visiting another yard.
Get into a yard, right? And you get into the yard and you look around and you're like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Write that down. Take a picture.
Yeah.
Right?
And everybody's so great about sharing.
Yeah. That's, we're competitors. We can be fierce competitors. But at the end of the day, I've seen some stuff go down in Ontario and nobody has your back like another recycler.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
It's a great industry.
It is.
Huh. What else can we talk about?
Yeah, I don't know. We've got some tariff situations going on.
We want to talk about that?
Oh, why not?
So it's it caused quite a bit of disruption, and even sadly, it caused some tension. It seems like I really want to walk a fine line here.
Sure.
Right?
I get it.
But it's unfortunate that we are all subject to what happens in cities, where they make decisions.
Yep.
And then it impacts
everybody,
our relationships.
Right. Or it tries to impact our relationship.
Yeah.
And we bumped up against that almost a year ago. But we came together and we wrote a letter. Right?
We did.
We wrote a letter. Because at the end of the day, I think that it was important to realize that what we do is the same. And the border for so many years was virtually invisible.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden it became a fence. And you're like, okay, And everybody's natural response is to get their backs up and,
Yeah.
one group pits themselves against another group. But then at the end of the day, you just got to realize that, some of this is manufactured. This is rhetoric. This is something that's been created to create division.
Right.
And yeah, that whole, united we stand, divided we fall. And that's just the reality. So when everybody realizes that, listen, nothing's changed. Governments come, governments go. And policies come and policies go. So keep doing what we do. Concentrate.
Let's
Yep.
maintain our relationship,
Yep.
and we'll have to hold our breath if the numbers don't make sense right now.
Right.
And we had some of that, right?
Yep.
So at the
Yep.
beginning, check me if I'm wrong there. It feels like at the beginning, the numbers, it wouldn't make sense, right? The
Right.
tariffs were causing too much economic
Yep.
problems, so
Yep.
cross-border trade kind of stopped.
Yep.
But then, kind of unceremoniously, there's cross-border trade again, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
the tariffs aren't really impacting it.
They're not. They're, Kuzma and whether Kuzma gets what it looks like on the other side and all that stuff. And I'm not going to get into that because at the end of the day, you have to just deal with the hand you're dealt.
Yeah.
And I know, there's some pressures. I know there's, yards that were selling into the U.S. using eBay that may not be now because of the de minimis has been, revoked. So that $800 exemption for small parts and stuff, that's
Right.
not there now. So it's from $1. So that changes some things for some smaller parts. Of course, Canada to the U.S. being our biggest customer by population, of course. The freight, moving stuff. Now with gas prices being what they are, I'm seeing freight bills having 45 and 50% surcharges on them. So it's just freight isn't making sense right now. So
Yeah.
economics come and go again.
Yeah.
You just have to shift gears and, at the end of the day, I think that if we continue to work together and we continue to, hold each other's back and say, listen, this too shall pass.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Yeah.
just carry on.
It's not too different. You find yourselves, certainly over the last several years, we find ourselves in such a culturally divided, a divided culture, right? And I've got really good relationships with people who see the world very differently than I do, and the only way I maintain those relationships, and they mean a lot to me,
Yep.
is by focusing on valuing the relationship more than any single issue that we may agree or disagree on.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of the approach, right?
Yep, it is. And I've got a number of, and it's not even cross-border. We all have differences of opinion.
Right.
At the end of the day, we can have a conversation about something. At the end of it, rather than get mad, just say, let's agree to disagree.
That's okay.
And move on.
Yeah.
It's not like we need to be enemies. We don't have to draw a line in the sand.
Right.
There's always something in life that you go, your take on it's different.
It'd be better if people would just spar.
It would,
Let's
actually.
just settle
Let's settle this right now. I brought my gloves.
You probably did. Oh man, that's good. Do you have a family?
Yep, wife, 3 kids. So yeah.
How old are your kids?
So my oldest would be. Let me get this right now. So my oldest is 30. Let's see, 30. I got to do the math here. Yeah. So we're talking 33, coming 34, 31, and 27, coming 28.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So 2
you had
girls and a
kids
boy.
young.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. We had kids when I was 20. I was married when I was 23. Kids when I was 25.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. So you've been married for a long time.
Yipper.
That's good.
Coming 36 years.
Oh man, congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome. We're
yeah.
coming. We'll be married 32 years this year.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
What's the for you? What makes it work?
Well, she's very understanding.
Period. End of
Period.
sentence.
And that's it. I'm a different character to start with, so
Yeah.
she needs an award for that, and just to deal with the small business thing. Coming into it, our first year of marriage, I know she struggled because this whole idea of small business and what it took to make it work and the hours, and then I get involved, I add insult to injury, I get involved in a board, and I get involved in 2 boards, and it's just like,
Because running the business isn't enough.
no, why? That's not enough stress to keep me going. I need more.
I need the stress of other people's businesses.
Exactly. I need the weight of the world on my shoulders to be able to perform.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's very, very understanding. Great partner.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's just
That's why
always
you
there.
guys were traveling somewhere recently.
Yeah. We tried to get a little travel. She's been having some issues with her knee lately. But yeah, we've done a couple of cruises and, trying to get out and about and enjoy the empty nest thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask, kids are all launched?
Yeah, they're all launched. We only had one boomerang back twice.
We had two boomerang back.
Yeah, they boomerang banged twice. But she was, it's all good. It's a couple months and it was nothing.
It's
nothing
tough out there.
It is. It's not easy.
And I think, I like to, I'm like anybody else. I want to stick my chest out and claim that my generation was the best generation. And there's a lot of reasons I believe that's true. But this generation has it tough.
They do. There's no question. I know.
But they've been saddled with a lot of, in my opinion, bad information.
Yep.
They've got a lot of student debt that probably should have never happened.
Yep.
Some of them, quite frankly, some of them probably shouldn't have been going to college. They should have went somewhere else and done something else. And
Yep. There's no question. I know our school system guidance, counseling and so forth is probably 10 years behind the time at any given time. Yeah. So, they're just not really relevant. So, yeah, I think there's that. I don't know that social media's helped.
Come on. That's
terrible. It's a terrible thing for a young mind.
It is.
This whole, let's face it. How many people do you know post a bad day online? Nobody.
And then when they do, people are like, "Why? Quit your bitching."
Right?
Nobody cares.
Yeah, come on over. I'll put gloves on. Well,
exactly.
I'll knock that right out of you.
One of my favorite things I've ever heard, sayings I've ever heard, is they said, if you put everybody in a room and everybody put all their problems in the middle of the room, you'd fight to get yours back.
Right. Yeah, because you look at somebody else and go, "Whoa,
I don't want that. That's bad."
But then there's that old saying, and you've seen it too. You've got 1,000 problems until you have a health problem. Now you got one problem.
Got one problem. Yeah.
Because the rest of it don't matter, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's why, when people go, "Why are you doing this at your age?" And I'm like, "Look, I'm just trying to slow the clock down."
Yep.
I've got one grandson. I've actually got two new granddaughters because my son, who has my grandson, he just got remarried, and she's wonderful, and she has two little girls who are sweet, and
nice.
So we got two more grandkids.
Oh, good for you.
And so it's exciting. But you look at them and you're like, I kind of want to. I want to be around, and not just be around. I want to be involved and active and be able to do things.
See, and that's the thing, and people don't realize that. As soon as you start getting into the 60s, mobility starts to become can be a big problem, right? And that's my deal is that I'm a little stubborn when it comes to assistance. I don't want to be the guy that moans to get out of a chair. I don't want to be the guy that
this
can't.
This does not shock me at all.
Yeah. I'd rather roll to my knees and crawl than have help. Yeah. Right? So it's just like, it's all for me now. It's not about, I'm beyond the ego stroke of, oh, he looks good. I just want to be able to get up.
Yeah.
And if I fall down, I want to be able to get up.
I'm telling you what, they say, I've talked to a couple of health workers, and they'll tell you that muscle is the number one anti-aging.
Yep.
People our age who have muscle, primarily your leg muscles, are the most important.
Yep.
It's good to have good upper body strength so you can pull yourself up.
Yep.
But people who have good leg muscles and some fair amount of mobility, less likely to fall down to begin with.
Right.
And so that's significant.
Yep, it is. And that's, for me, that's what it's about. It's just, being in good shape. But unfortunately, none of my children have given me any grandchildren yet.
Are they so married, or are they all married? Or
no, actually, they are all. They've had their round of partners, and they had their brushes. Two of my kids had their brushes with a significant other and a possible marriage.
Yeah,
and both of those didn't end up in marriage, which I think may have been dodging a bullet. So there's not that messiness that they have to deal with post the
right.
So it's all good. So they're all in good places. They're in careers. They're working towards something. So
they do.
Yeah, I'm just so my son, my youngest, he's an accountant. My oldest, she's working HR, and she works for mostly in HR and policy.
Sure.
And my middle daughter, she just finished her degree in social work, and she's now out there seeing if she still wants to do social work.
Yeah. I was almost, except for the social work, I was like, wait a second, you've got two components of a business here,
Yes,
right?
we do.
It'd be nice to bring them all in-house.
Exactly.
You said they weren't interested in coming into
Nope.
family business. But
No. I think they've seen the stresses of it, and they're like, yeah, no, let's not.
yeah.
Yep.
My daughter is graduating college. My youngest, she's graduating college Saturday, day after tomorrow.
Oh, great.
So sadly, I've got to leave at URG tomorrow morning.
Be there?
Yeah,
Yep.
I've got family already showing up in my house, and we're very excited, very proud of her. But she's that's her interest is social work.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
It's, you look at it and I have my concerns because
of course, as
my,
a father, I mean, it's going to be very difficult for my daughter to make a living.
Yeah.
And pay bills and stuff.
Yep.
because-
And the other thing I've looked at is some of the things, and I'm sure there's been so much my daughter has not shared with us, but when I find out, post the fact, she's like, oh yeah, I've been into all kinds of homeless camps. I carry naloxone. Yeah, I've helped people with an overdose. I had somebody die on me. I'm just like, this is the side of the of life that I don't necessarily want to see.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I want my daughter seeing
Yeah,
it.
you want
right?
to just want to protect them,
Right, exactly, right?
They say
That's
that dad is the shepherd, and the job of a shepherd is to shoot the wolves.
yeah, exactly. And I'm like, so you voluntarily went into a homeless camp? She's well, yeah. I'm like, they need help, and I'm like,
It's a sweet heart. Like
Yeah.
what a great heart.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
daughter's cut from the same cloth, and we need these people
We
in
do.
our community because people need help. And,
Yep.
And it's sad that it's sad that the commentary on that is that it is going to be difficult for them to make a living
and that's a fact.
providing such a
Yeah,
service.
that's a fact. They're dealing with parts of society that need to be dealt with and need help, and the funding just isn't.
Yeah.
The funding doesn't match the job
The need.
and the need and the requirement. Like
The whole system is stressed.
it is very stressed.
Yeah,
very stressed.
Probably not too different where you are than it
No.
is where we
No,
we
I
are.
think it's the same.
My wife and I did foster care.
Oh, nice.
And that was tough.
Yep.
That's a tough system to
Yep.
be involved with.
Yep.
So-
I don't know that I could do that. I think I got attachment issues, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what everybody says.
Yep, that would be tough.
Yeah.
Especially if you, because I know some of these kids come with issues and stuff like
They
that.
all
and
come
if,
with
and-
issues.
and if-
They're not in that system because they don't have issues.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you actually are successful in getting through and breaking through and seeing some kind of an improvement, that's the hard part
they
of
go.
sending them on,
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
the hard part. So,
Yeah, no, it is. Well, trying to think what else we can chat about. We've talked about auto recycling. So you're here at URG.
Yep.
Any sessions you're particularly interested in?
I just, I'm getting a feel for me, it's more about the overall structure. Like I come to your event, I'm coming to this event. I'm trying to get.
You're coming here as with your event planner eyes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see what works and
Yeah.
what doesn't. Trying to see it because I'm looking at these and going to these things, looking as a recycler, but also as what's our next convention got to look like. Because to keep the interest, you got to keep it fresh.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's the trick. And to keep it fresh means trying some new things. Not trying anything that's going to fail, hopefully. So it's a matter of seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, see
Yeah.
what the response was. Like I learned something coming to ARA. I saw, I went to a bunch of sessions and I saw the one that was started to talk about or even mentioned AI, and I'm like, this room's full.
Oh yeah, that was
very,
Chris Douglas's.
very full. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I know the carrot to dangle is AI, and we'll get people interested.
Oh,
in
you
it.
had him up. He was a big part of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah. So yeah, that's same thing here. I want to see what they're talking about. Like things shift, and the problem with coming from the industry, and it's great that I have the experience that I've got, but my experience now has stopped. I'm not in
Right.
the industry anymore.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't. I'm 4 and a bit years away from it, and every year I get a little bit further away from it, and you're not as in sync with what's happening and what's happening at ground level. So it's good to get to these events, and thankfully I know a lot of recyclers
Sure.
both sides of the border, and they're really happy to share, and you listen to them intently, and you kind of keep the pulse of what's happening at the ground level.
I was kind of concerned, and I was very transparent when I talking to the executive committee at ARA when they were considering having me, bringing me out as an executive director, because I've never even worked at an auto recycling facility. I've been a consumer of this industry my entire life.
Yep.
But I never worked at one. But you know what? I think it's working out.
Yep.
I mean, obviously there's certain things that I'll never be able, like one of the shortfalls that I have, and I was just having a conversation with Solera this morning.
Yeah.
and I was like, this is a shortcoming for me. Like the depth of understanding of the products that auto recyclers use is very shallow for me.
Yep.
Like I've never used a yard management system.
Right.
So there's, you just got to be aware of it and
Yep.
and ask for help when you need it. And I mean, you have a board, right?
Yep.
Like my executive committee. I mean,
Yep.
we have a board too. The board's fairly, like we do quarterly calls and they vote on our budget, things like that. But by and large, week in and week out, I'm talking to our executive committee. And
Right.
I imagine that's
So
like
that will be our board.
your
So
board.
so I've
How
got
many people?
7.
Mine's currently 4, but we're normally 5.
Yeah, so we got 7. So our board would be our executive committee. It's we're hands on. That board is hands on.
Are they're all owner operator
All
volunteers?
owner. Yep, all of them.
Yeah.
And we meet second Wednesday of every month without fail. That's just, we have a Zoom call. Hopefully it's just an hour, sometimes more, but you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, super good bunch of people to work with. I've had the privilege of working with 3 or 4 of them when I was on the board. They're still there. And now we got some fresh faces. We got some new faces
Tell
coming
me who's
on.
on your board.
So
Does that put you on the spot?
Oh yeah. May have to pull my phone up. So Greg Wigbeck is our chair from Wigbeck Auto Parts.
Okay, thanks. The
So-
name and then
Yep.
where they're from. Yeah.
So Mary Poirier from Valley Automotive, she's our treasurer. We've got Corey Earl from Hodges Auto Parts. He was, when I was on the board, Corey was, he tried his hand at being a secretary. It didn't work out real well. And if Corey's watching this, I'm still waiting for minutes from one of those meetings.
You're not getting them.
Probably not. Got Derek Neeson from Hank's Auto Wreckers. He is our current secretary, and he does a hell of a job. It's a big job. Max Winkler from J&B Auto Parts. Eric McDonald is new to the board. Eric is from Bodyline, so he came on the board at the March convention. And then who am I missing here?
I forgot to keep count.
Mark Plazik from Plazik Auto Recyclers.
Gotcha.
Also a great board member. So yeah, we've got a good mix of people. And at the end of the day, everybody is not afraid to, pick up a project or two. And, some of our, like Corey's been working on, we've got some, I'm sure you've got some auto theft issues here. So we've got some VIN management, VIN branding, and VIN theft issues.
When I came to ARA in Niagara Falls, I flew into, I guess, Buffalo. I can't remember.
Yep.
It was right on. Anyway,
Buffalo.
And
Yep.
I drove over. They wouldn't let me they wouldn't rent me a SUV
Oh, yep, because it gets stolen.
because it gets stolen.
Yep.
Yeah. So I
Yep.
had a nice minivan.
Yep.
Apparently, nobody wants a minivan.
Nobody's
stealing minivans.
Nobody's stealing minivans.
Yeah.
So we've got a few projects on the go. We've got some issues with I don't know if you're seeing them here, but I know IAA specifically, not so much. I don't have many members buying at Copart right now, but we're seeing some issues with mileage misrepresentation. So that's become a bit of an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, working with IAA, we've got a good rep that we work with, and we've come to an understanding that if the mileage that is been represented and the true mileage are vastly different, they've agreed to buy that vehicle back because we're having some issues with some Carfax information versus what's on the estimate versus what's being posted on the auction site. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of an issue, and we're not seeing. I know there's being some attempts being made to correct it, but at the end of the day, the problem is some of this stuff. Like an estimate gets written, and I'm sure I've seen it when I was in the industry. I had estimators come out and look at a vehicle, or even make a phone call and say, "You've got a vehicle in your compound." Yep. And they say, "Airbags blown." Yep. Where was it hit? Left front. Yep. Okay, I'm not even going to come up. I'm just going to stroke it. And,
Yep.
and they, how do you write an estimate from that? I have no idea. So, I call them drive-by estimates.
Yeah.
And they did their drive-by and they wrote down 213,000 kilometers. Sounds right. And it's 400,000 kilometers on it or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So you just don't know. So yeah, it's been a file that we've been working on. And then of course we were fortunate. You were at the ARA convention. We had the minister, the assistant attorney general at our meeting, And it was good. It was good to have that conversation with him. We've since had a follow-up call with him, and he's kind of understanding what we're seeing. So, we're having, recyclers, it's kind of weird. You go to the auction. It used to be you went to the auction. Now it's
log
online. Now it's log in. But the reality is that a vehicle comes across the block. You know what it is. You see it's a SUV or a pickup truck or whatever, and it's been, it's in Ontario. It's branded or should be branded because it's, was whacked by a train.
Right.
And you're like, no brand. And then it goes for $13,000, and you're like, I wonder what's going to happen with that vehicle.
Yeah.
I know what's going to happen. It's going to magically be repaired overnight, and it's going to be on the road tomorrow, right? And that's the issue. And, you say it, recyclers talk about this kind of stuff tongue in cheek, but the reality is it's part of the driver. It's part of the problem.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it. We're seeing that this is actually, it's part of the problem. So, we're working on a couple of solutions, and we're working on a bit of a data project right now that's still in its infancy, but, talking to the Attorney General's office and hopefully be talking to MTO in the next month or so that maybe the recycler, again, is often left out of the conversation.
Sure.
Talking to the Attorney General, this guy's portfolio is auto theft and bail reform. And he didn't understand or even know the role that we played, and more importantly, the information that we hold.
Right.
Like, he's like, oh, so you have VINs? Yeah, we have a few. Interesting. And how do you track them?
You're probably the largest fleet owner in the country.
Right. Like, we house the most amount of VINs as a collective than any other entity other than government.
Yeah.
And they're like, we didn't even know you existed.
Scott Robertson always used to say, this is the most misunderstood industry on the planet.
It is. Hollywood has done us no favors.
Oh my gosh.
If there's a murder or something bad going to happen, we always, like, my wife and I are sitting watching TV, and the music's happening. I'm like, oh, we're going to end up in a salvage yard. Here we go. Sure enough, gates open. I'm like, yep, here we go.
You recognize him?
Oh, no, I don't. Not all the time.
I have a few times.
Have you? Yeah. I'm just like, seriously. It pisses me off every time.
SA out in California.
Right, I understand.
They're right there next to Hollywood.
Right.
So I've seen some movies made there, and then ABC in Illinois, in Chicago.
Okay.
Well, they talked about it. They were very excited. They had a TV show like Chicago Fire, I think it was.
Okay.
That came out and shot a thing. Of course, it always ends with a body in the trunk.
It does. It's just like, this is not helping us, people. Crimes don't happen. It's just, it is a bit ridiculous. But that's the problem, and it's a bit of a. And so recently, like as of maybe last week, ARA just signed a contract with a social media company.
Nice.
To help me, kind of change that image. So we're going to start working on an education component. So, I think North America wide, we're all facing the same thing. We've got budgets are stretched thin. So recycled parts start becoming more and more visible, more and more sought after, and I think just telling our story. I keep saying the same thing. Like, we have to tell our story.
Oh my gosh,
We have to tell our story. We have to tell people what we do. This is not 1960. This is not a junkyard. We don't have a junkyard dog.
Here's the thing. Junkyards still exist.
They do.
Right.
But they're a stain on our industry.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually get excited when I meet somebody and they're a junkyard. But they're like, I'm trying to figure it out. I want to be better. I'm like, come on, buddy.
Yep.
Let's go.
And I have no issues with those. Like, somebody that wants help. Like, at the ARA convention, I met 2 non-members that were asking a lot of good questions, and they're, small operators, but they want to become, they want to be legitimate. They want to be recognized. And I'm like, there's no, we want to help. We want to grow our numbers. We want to grow our membership, and we want these people to come along.
We want to elevate the industry.
We want to elevate the industry. We want to make the industry what it is. And like, at the end of the day, it's this frustration of continually, governments. For me, when we worked on our Ontario legislation back 10 years ago to actually bring some regulation around auto recycling, because a lot of people, even government, I was like, in Ontario, we have what's called Reg 347, and that's kind of the Waste Act. And about dead center of the Waste Act, there's like 3 lines. And 3 lines basically said auto wrecking yards are exempt from 349 because he just couldn't figure them out.
That's the sum total of regulation.
And that's what it was for many years. Like whenever Ministry of the Environment walk into your property, they'd go, yeah, I just don't know what I measure you to though, because there's no rules, you know? So that's why we worked on that regulation and did finally get a reg in place that, you know, and funny, you know, again, this filter down effect, the code of practice that we designed and developed with the federal government, which became our code of practice, became CARIC, which we now, you know,
that's your certification.
It's our certification program. And, you know, a little different than in the U.S. If you're a member of an association, you must pass a CARIC audit.
Oh.
There is no yes and no. It's one you have to.
Do you have any idea what the differences are in your program and our program?
We are virtually aligned.
Okay.
Yeah, we're virtually aligned. You have some we are strictly environmental. You have some housekeeping and some beautification, which we have not decided to adopt.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, our thinking was that if you got your environmental house in order, the rest would kind of follow. And that actually has been our experience.
So it is working?
It is working, yep. I think our score now, our average score is, I'd have to check with Steve because he knows these things off the top of his head. But I think our average score is around 88%.
Awesome.
So our yards are doing well.
Good.
But yeah, it's one of those things. So, you know, that is the standard. And without that, you know, we've based a lot of the programs on that. But when we were meeting to develop that regulation, which basically is CARIC. We took CARIC and we said, listen, why would you want to reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
This is what we do. This has been vetted by the federal government. So the regulation, there's some tweaks, and you know, government, they can't take anything off the shelf and just use it. No, let's get
put it to a committee. And
let's get 25 people involved, and then let's cycle those people off so that we've seen 7 different people of the same job in the period of 5 years.
Most of our time getting up to speed.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah,
and that was the frustrating part. Was sitting with these people, explaining to them what we do, and I remember, and again, aside from being intense, I have loud body language, I've been told. and I know Steve and I used to sit across from each other, and I basically, so he could keep me in check, I think, he'd just give me a look and like, don't do that. And I remember sitting there at a representative from the Ministry of Transportation. Okay, so we were sitting there, Ministry of the Environment, Ministry of Transportation, Fire Marshal's Office, Police, Chiefs Federation, whatever. Everybody had input in what this regulation could look like and if it stepped on anybody's toes. So before the meeting, I always like to try to figure out the people I'm meeting with, especially when it's a different face again.
Yeah.
This guy sits down, he's from Ministry of Transportation. And I'm like, okay, good. You know, so I'm a car guy. So
He's a car guy.
Yeah. So I said, what kind of car do you drive? He said, I don't drive a car.
It's a Minister of Transportation.
So I looked at him and go, so, you know, you're in Toronto. He said, yeah, no, I ride a bicycle. It's better for the environment. And I'm just like, okay, we don't have a lot to talk about.
You actually do, right? And somebody pointed this out to me a few years ago. They said the auto recycling industry is where the way they put it is it's where the left and the right meet, right? Because you've got a certain component of auto recycling that tends to slant very conservative, and then but yet at the end of the day, we're for the environment, right? We're trying to do things, and the good ones, not the junkyards, but the good ones, are doing what they do with great consideration to the environment that they occupy, right?
Yep.
And so I mean, guy rides bike because it's better for the environment. Great. You know, one of the things I think people forget is they sometimes they look at these operations, right, and they're like, oh, I don't want to see that. Really? What are you going to do with all the cars?
Right. So they got to be processed. Something has to happen.
Processed.
But the funny thing is this whole re-education process. Like you sit with them, and the frightening thing was, and I when I was very young in being on the board, I got some advice from and I know it was a little bit self-serving because they're a consultant, and you know, consultants, what they like to do is run up their hours. But at the end of the day, he said, you know, something that made sense to me, a good takeaway.
You're kind of a cynic.
I am a little bit.
They like to teach, Wally. That's why
well, There's teaching and then there's charging.
Well, yeah, everybody's got to make a living.
Well, some make a good living. Have you met a cheap consultant?
No, I was one at one point.
Oh, sorry.
Paid well.
Then you took this gig. What went wrong?
I wanted to be part of a team. The honest truth is, yeah. I mean, I kind of stumbled into consulting. I was basically going through my contact list, just letting people who I knew were important to me know that I was no longer with so and so, and I started having people say, "Well, you should come consult." And so I kind of stumbled into it, and I did it for a few years, and I made as much or more as I was when I was employed, but at the end of the day, I do like being on a team.
Yeah. It's good to have people that you can work with. Yeah. But the interesting thing I found with government was this whole the misconceptions. Like the funny thing was the representative from the Ministry of Transportation,
the bicycle guy,
the bicycle dude. He didn't know his own regulations. Like he's telling me stuff about ownerships and stuff. I said, yeah, in the province, they got to be transferred within 6 days. And he's like, oh, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. I've had that fine.
Yeah, because there's fines when you. Yeah,
I've had that fine, so I know for sure. Oh, I said I should look into that. I'm like, oh wow, this guy's. You're not giving me a lot of confidence here. I'm sitting at a table with supposedly people representing their various ministries, and I'm hoping they're not all as daft as this guy, because he doesn't even know his own ministry. I know more about it than
hopefully
he does.
He's not watching.
Well, if he is, too bad. I'm sure he's not with transportation anymore.
Yeah. Wow. Do you have committees?
Yes.
So you do. So ARA, we've got multiple committees that work on projects. And things
you,
like that.
you have more. We're stealing a page out of your book. You have more committees than we do. When I was chair, we had a couple of committees, and we probably should have leveraged that opportunity more. The problem is when you're working with a smaller membership, you do have some distinct limits of that. But yeah, we have a very engaged parts committee, and we have a very engaged marketing committee. So those two committees are working well. We're actually working right now to create, as Steve Fletcher is supposed to be retired. We don't know.
You should change the locks.
The problem is he's got the passwords, so I haven't changed them. I actually locked myself out of the website the other day, and I had to go to him. I said, Steve, can I have the password? He's like, didn't you change the password? No. Oh, why would I?
Oh, my.
But so we're going to get a convention planning committee together because there's just the board is heavily taxed. We have a board that's super engaged. They don't leave you hanging. Yeah. If I put something out there that I need a little push on or I need a little bit of information on, they're right there. They're responsive. They're to the point where we actually even have a WhatsApp chat group. Yeah. So rather than getting into 1,000 emails back and forth, we'll just throw something in the group and just throw it out there. Just run it around a couple of times and then come up with a direction. So, but yeah, we're working towards. We have a membership committee. I think lately it's a committee of one, so again, trying to take a little bit of work off the board's plate. But I have to do a better job in recruiting. I have to sit down and look at what we just started, and we haven't even had.
That's your future board, by the way.
Right.
And I've this is a flag I've been carrying, and my executive committee is now starting to buy in. And I'm like, look, the executive committee should be chosen from committee members. We need to get, and so if you come in to the EC as secretary and you got a 5-year run, you should be looking around and identifying who you think has potential and then recruiting them into a committee.
Yep.
And then you see, are they collaborative or is it a my way or the highway person? It's kind of tough to find that out at too late.
Right.
And are they good? Do they have good ideas and how they work with others and things like that? And I said, you could vet all that by committee work for a couple of years.
Yep. So we're brainstorming around that because we have a couple of members that would like to, they've put in their time more than enough and they want to retire. So what we came up with, and we're going to see how it works out, we haven't had a joint meeting yet, but we have created what we're calling a shadow board. So we've invited people that may be interested to join us and to come on to a call and be involved, get involved, plug in
like
somewhere.
An advisory Well, maybe not. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so basically they're there to observe.
Sure.
Right? And when we get into sensitive topics or we have to go into camera or you know what I mean? Like whenever there's something that our liabilities insurance won't cover them for,
right.
then we're going to excuse them from the call. But so we've got, I think, 3 people that have shown interest. And like you said, we want to, that's the little things that drive you crazy, like punctuality. Like when you're waiting for a board member to show up for 10 minutes on a call, you're just like, please, and you get it. There's things happen, but
and they're running businesses.
Yeah, and they're running businesses. So, you can't be too judgmental, but if 6 out of 7 board members have made an attempt to be on time, bad on you, right? So, but that just teaches you some things about the person, right? Like you say, it's a little bit of a testing ground. Get some opinions from them. Try to figure out, which way they lean and some of their political views and stuff like that. Just so you can understand. But you're right. It's from the committee work and from those testing grounds is your next board, your next board member.
And you want to have a good mix of young and we'll say seasoned.
Right. Yeah. You don't want an
echo chamber.
No, and that's the problem. Like that was one of the things I recognized when I was at the Alberta meeting back last fall. We have a bit of a east versus west thing in Canada where, I joke. I have a few really good friends down in Eastern Canada. Ed McDonald, past ARA chair. Yeah. So Ed and I, we've got this little thing goes back and forth, and I just remind him that Ontario is the center of the universe, and he takes exception to that. But the reality is that the people out west don't like it when you start talking about, well, we do things like this in the east, and you guys are doing it wrong. They don't want to hear that. Different, not wrong. But what I learned was sitting in their board meeting, I was trying to figure out why it just seemed very, I don't know. You ever been in a meeting? It's just like really clunky, or really you're just like, this isn't flowing. This is something wrong here.
Usually because there's either a lack of a goal for the meeting or an agenda, or there's the person who's supposed to be running it is not running it.
Right. So I'm sitting there for this very painful meeting, and I get about an hour and a half in, and I was chilled out because I was seen as the outsider that kind of muscled his way into the meeting because I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong.
Right.
And so I start asking some questions, and I find out that they've got 5 of 7 board members are brand new. And I'm just like, you can't do that. Like at AURA, we do alternate. We have 4 this year, 3 next year, 4 next year, 3 next year. So when elections come for a 2-year term, we don't vacate the entire board. Like this coming next meeting will be 4 members.
Huh. That's interesting.
Just because of that.
We only ever have 1 new member.
See, we do a 2-year term.
Yeah.
And then we have, not that I can say I can remember the last time we had a full election, but the reality is that it was to prevent, because in years gone by, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, you'd have an entire board get replaced, and you're like, there's no continuity there.
Yeah, really hard.
And the lift for the executive director is huge.
Yeah.
Like you got to bring so many people up to speed, right? So we're working on getting more committees working, trying to find the committee help is been challenging, but right now we've got some exciting things happening, and that I think is driving because the energy is there, and we do have some younger people there.
That's great.
It is great. It's now taxing me and showing my limitations of doing screen sharing and stuff. I'm just like, oh no, I need to figure my technology out. I got to figure out my technology. These guys are miles ahead of me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's good. It's all good, actually. It's very good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think that's about it.
Sounds good.
I mean, unless there's anything that you wanted to talk about that we haven't brought up.
Not really.
No?
No. I think that from my perspective, at almost 60 years old, I think the industry is bright. Like I know a lot of people are complaining, and we all do.
Yeah.
If we all gather around the bar, it becomes the biggest bitch session that you ever hear. Yeah, it can be. It can be.
But it seems that the people who complain, they're all. I mean, even in good times,
Yep.
they're going to find something to complain about.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
So it is what it is. I like asking people. You've already answered the question before I asked it, but I tend to ask, do you see more sky is falling or silver lining? And,
No,
I think there's more silver lining.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do we have to change? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And,
The ones who are resistant to change, those are the ones who tend to gripe a little bit. And
that's constant. I can take the temperature of, I earned my gray hair. Like, all I have to do is talk to somebody for 10 or 15 minutes, and there's a lot of things that fall into place very quickly for me. We all have the right to complain a little bit about something, but often, if you're going to complain and not be willing to change and not be willing to learn.
Yeah, you can't complain about the industry evolving.
No.
Like, that is a waste of time.
Yep.
Don't complain about the industry evolving.
No.
Figure out what your piece of it is.
Yeah, like when I hear people say, "Oh, things were so much better 20 years ago," and I'm like, the first thing I say to them, I said, "I'm going to give you a piece of advice. If you're looking that far back, do yourself a favor, put a for sale sign out front, because you have no future. If you are looking that way, you have no future."
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to sit around the bar, have a beer, and talk about the auction days.
It's
that was
great.
an absolute blast.
It's great.
I was working at the auctions, right? So it was carnival every week.
Yeah, yeah.
How fun was that?
It's great to reminisce. There's a difference between reminiscing
and
complaining
100%.
about how things have changed and they're not the way they used to be.
Yeah, because
they're never going to be the way they used to be.
And there's certain elements, I've said this before, as fun as it was to go to the auction, it's much more efficient now.
Oh, it is, no question. Yeah, it's a different environment.
It is.
It's taken the.
It kind of had to die.
It did, because I remember being at the auction and having a running beef with somebody, and it's just like, okay, I want to buy that car. He knows I want to buy that car.
Yeah.
He's going to make me pay for that car, and I'm going to return the favor.
Yeah.
We're not helping each other.
Somebody else pointed that out. I think it was Scotty. He said, it's that personal ego.
It gets in the way.
It's not there anymore.
It's not. Now it's a numbers game.
Now it's a numbers game.
And that's the way it should always have been. There's no room for ego in this business. Ego costs money.
Yeah. I read a book when I first took this role. I read a book. It was a good book. It's called Everything You Want's on the Other Side of Your Ego.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. And you get to our age. I got nothing to prove to nobody.
No.
I know what I know.
I don't even care who gets the credit.
Either do I.
Move it forward.
See,
Let's just move it forward.
And I'm the same way. Often I've gotten a request for information and stuff, and they say, "Oh, do you want to do that interview? Do you want to do that?" I'm like, I don't care who does it.
Yeah. The best person.
Yeah. Whoever's
that's who does it.
Yeah. Does it represent the industry? It doesn't have to have my name on it.
Yeah.
I don't need my face on it. I don't care. I just want to make sure that it moves us forward. Whoever's best positioned to do that, do it. It's this. There's no room for ego. Ego is so
just
costly.
Holds you back. It's just like the title of that book. It's just a barrier to success.
It is.
So, well, Wally, thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me.
This was as enjoyable as I'd hoped it would be.
Yeah, me too.
And I hope everybody enjoys watching it. So thanks again.
Thank you. Have a great day.